Hey there. If you're seeing this, you've probably seen my other video on the Vault logs, but if you haven't, go watch that one first so you're actually caught up with everything, and then come back to this one if you're still interested. If you have seen that video though, welcome back. Over the past week, the channel Uploading the Logs has released 3 new videos, one of them being a short, but one of them being an 11-minute long lore dump. So, we're going to be talking about it today. Just like in the last video, please go subscribe to them, subscribe to me, leave the likes, all that. But let's just jump right into this, because there's a lot to talk about today. The first video we're starting with is Log Iris 1. And, not to brag, but I was kind of right about their name being Iris, even though it was a little self-explanatory. But, you know, you take what you get. Now, this is an 11-minute long video, so there's going to be a lot to talk about in this one. So, let's just jump right into it. The first video starts with Iris telling us about the nature of parallel worlds, and they give us some interesting facts about it. Interestingly, we see that the logs are actually made in the parallel world and uploaded to something similar to YouTube, and it actually gets uploaded to our own streaming platform, that being YouTube. And Iris points this out himself, that he had to make his own video player? It's strange that they wouldn't have this, but it is important to note this is 2010. There would be streaming platforms around this time in our own world, but they would be in their infancy, so it's not too surprising that it's not one for one, much like the people in these realms, as Iris points out that there are alternate versions of everybody in the world. It's a bit of a Miles Morales Spider-Verse thingy, I assume, where you have alternate versions of the same person, so that will be very important later, but they're just putting that out for now. After the brief lesson on parallel worlds, Iris explains to us that Volt had research books, which is pretty understandable, he's a researcher, but he also mentions that there is a storybook. In this storybook, it's said that there is a god named the God Eater. It is something that is beyond God himself, and it was split into 7 fragments. Now, in the video, it recounts that we know 3 of the fragments: violence, strength, and honor. That makes up all 3 of the fragments that we know. However, there are 4 others that we're unaware of. Now, we don't know what this book is about, but it's not relevant to us just yet, as Iris himself says that it may not be 100% accurate, or even like slightly accurate. It's just possible to be accurate. But going further, Iris acknowledges that Rogue exists, the entity that is a god, confirmed by Iris, and basically their entire world, as it's acknowledged as some divine being or divine intervention. Iris starts to mention Rogue, which is very good to know that they're aware of them. They're even safe from him, according to Iris himself, as they say Rogue doesn't know of them yet, and they have some information to share on them, such as Red being Rogue's calling card almost. Anything red is typically going to be associated with Rogue, which is good to know in this ARG sense. But it's also important to know that Rogue can possibly manifest things out of thin air. We know this through a couple of reasons, one of them being the phone Volt found, as we discussed in the last video, and it seems to be something manifested by Rogue themselves, but it's also important to know that Rogue can only exist in the digital world right now. They have no physical form yet. However, Iris and ourselves know that Rogue was able to manifest a voice box to sound more human. It's pointed out, and it's even speculated that Rogue one day might be able to manifest a human to be able to make a material form, which would be very bad for us, as they could start inflicting direct harm instead of just using diseases like Crimson Arm Syndrome. However, despite how useful Iris has been to us, they reveal that they aren't operating with all of Volt's research. Unfortunately, I was wrong in the last episode, and Iris was not left the logs, or any of the research really. It was instead passed down to Volt's apprentices, which Iris does admit that he is one of them. However, they seem to be more of like an apprentice to an apprentice almost. They're the last resort. They're basically the last choice, unfortunately. By choice, I mean there is a bit of a system for how the research gets passed along. See, Volt is dead, confirmed in this log. However, there's a system to where the information and research Volt has accrued will be passed to one member, then it will be passed to another, in a line as they eventually die off. And if they are unable to resolve it by the final apprentice, it is to go to Volt, it seems. That's my interpretation. Iris doesn't explicitly say this, but I think that's what they're implying in this. This is supported by the fact that Iris knows at least one person from this group is still alive, as he hasn't received the information just yet, meaning that when all of them are deceased, the information will be given to Iris in the last-ditch attempt. Despite Iris not having direct access to this information, they have been entering into Volt's home, finding what remains of the information, and Iris even notes that the phone with Rogue in it seems to still be in Volt's house. It just seems to be locked in a drawer, which Volt himself confirms in one of his logs, but it seems to be reinforced and they can't access it just yet. So we might see that they need a key in the future, or maybe they'll manage to break it open at some point. Now that we're near the end of this extremely long video, let's go over what we know just so we can collect our thoughts. Firstly, we understand some of the basics of parallel worlds. I'm not going to go over it all again, we talked about it. We're just going to put that we understand the basics. We also know the storybook and the possible origins of the God Eater, or Rogue, Violets, all of their aliases. And we know that there are 3 pieces that we know of, but there are 7 in total. Very important to know. The third and last main point of this is Iris is not the one who received the Volt logs. They are really a last resort, so that's very important to know that they are operating on basically nothing, and it seems to be that way for the predictable future. So now, at the end of this 11-minute long video, we got about 20 seconds left. I'm sure nothing can shake this up. Oh, okay, nope, it's Rogue. Rogue makes an appearance at the very end of the video, telling us, the viewers, seemingly us, I don't think it's telling Iris, but Rogue seems to be telling us that they know of people in our own world, and they list a couple of names. Now, the names listed are quite strange, to be honest, as there's a weird... I'll just tell them to you. In order, these are the names Rogue mentions. Rustage, Bill Gates, Felix Arvid, Forrest Waldron, Daniel Robert. Now, 2 of those names you probably know. Bill Gates, Microsoft man, and Felix Arvid is a content creator, pretty small, you might have heard of him. But there is 2 other YouTubers on this list, that being Rustage and Forrest Waldron. Now, let's start with Forrest Waldron, or better known as Creekcraft. Now, I don't know who this person is, never watched him, but they seem to be a Roblox YouTuber, or just horror game YouTuber. I don't know what to add to this. It's a YouTuber, don't know him, but they have 10 million subscribers. Pretty big YouTuber. Now, the other YouTuber on this is Rustage. Now, I personally am a big fan of Rustage. They are a music artist. They make funny little songs. I like them. They're very good. Very strange to see this on here. I feel called out almost, but Rustage is on this list, and it's going to be very important, personally, that they're on this, for a point I'll make later. The final person on this list is Daniel Robert. Don't know baseball. They seem to be a baseball player. I don't know if this is who they're referring to. It seems to be... I have nothing to add. Now, these have some interesting choices for people to call out, as Bill Gates, pretty obvious, multi-billionaire now, who knows, very rich man, made Microsoft. PewDiePie, very popular. But the other 3 seem to be quite strange picks. Now, it seems like Forrest Waldron and Daniel Robert are American. I believe they are. I I didn't put too much research into it. I just kind of looked at them, listened to them. Sounded like they are American. But Rustage, I know for a fact, is European. They're from the UK. And I think that's very, very important. See, I left out a little bit of a ARG hidden text in the background from the video. And I'm going to put it on screen now. You'll see it. And I'm going to read you some of the phrases you'll see. The fragments were scattered between two realms. 7 colors. I'm alive. The two collided. We are here. The rainbow. Now, this seems to be referencing back to the God Eater, the 7 fragments between two dimensions. Pretty standard stuff, but I do have a little bit of a theory here, because one of the words, or phrases there, is 7 colors, and you'll notice that colors is spelled a little strange. Now, colors is spelled C-O-L-O-U-R in the video, and that's the European or UK spelling for color. And if you listen to the voice behind Iris, they do sound like English might be their second language. It's perfectly fine, by the way, I don't care. But it might be important to know that they are from, this is happening in the UK. It might be important to know to shift from America, sadly, and go to Europe. Now, regardless if this is taking place in Europe or not, I don't see any more relevance from these names other than maybe the creator likes these names, or these people. I don't know. It's a very strange selection. 3 YouTubers, a baseball player, and Bill Gates. I can't put a connection between these 3. 5. It's 5 people. So I'm just gonna say, at most, it's telling us that it's in Europe, and at most probable, it's just people that the creator likes. Now, going to the second video of today, we have Voltlog 3, and it's unique because it has a purple background. The sudden color association with Volt would be strange, but Volt actually has a special guest in this tape. Someone who seems to be named May, who is a woman, it sounds like, that seems to be one of Volt's apprentices, almost. That's what I'm gathering, at least. I believe that they are an apprentice, as in the log, Volt is showing May the phone with the red screen, the one that Rogue is currently inhabiting, and they're talking about the hometown disappearances, all that good stuff, and it seems to be going well until Rogue communicates with them.
Won't you tell me about your new friend? Volt!
Now, Rogue asks Volt to introduce him to his new friend, and when Rogue is speaking, and a couple of seconds afterwards, the date in the top left corner seems to change very rapidly, and they seem to be dates, incomplete dates, with random symbols impairing our understanding of what it says, but it's probably not important. It might just be saying that Rogue is some higher entity that messes with video. Regardless of the date issues when Rogue appears, Rogue stops talking in about like 5-7 seconds, and May and Volt seem to be freaking out, and they're putting the tape away, stopping the log, all that stuff. But if you were paying attention to the footage on screen, which it's either gonna be Hollow Knight or this video, you'll see that there is text in the background with some very interesting words. The only text I'm going to talk about in this is the one that says "I live here now," which seems to imply that I believe May has been forced into the tapes now, that they are stuck in the logs, as the color is seemingly their own, and in the description of the video, there's a title on the back of this that says Joy. Now, her name may be May Joy May, that's weird, kind of strange, but, it feels like it's implying that the lady in this video is now stuck in these tapes. So it seems that Rogue has been able to force people into tapes, which is a new ability he seems to have, a very dangerous one I have to add, but we're not entirely sure how he does this, when he does this, if it's post-death, he seals their souls in this. We don't really know. We don't have that much information on this, but I think it is safe to assume that whatever happened to the Lady May, she is stuck in the tape now, or whatever remains of her soul. At the very end of the tape, we also get a little bit of a actual, footage of, actual visual footage of a piece of paper on a table and someone's hand with, a pen or something, and the piece of paper says, "The Book," and at the very top of it, you'll notice that there's some not invisible, but very light text that says "The One and Only." Now, I'm not really certain if the text means anything, but the words on the piece of paper seem to be referring to the storybook about the God Eater, which seems to imply that maybe this is Iris trying to decipher the meaning or the true origin of the God Eater. We can't exactly predict who is on this. I mean, we have no physical descriptions of any character, except for technically Rogue, but that's a phone. This is a human. Unless you want to get into the semantics of, it's Rogue in a video of a person. No, it's not Rogue, okay? We only really have one option, being Iris, or this is old footage of Volt, or May, or whatever, but I'm asserting that it is Iris. It's the most obvious choice. I feel like that's the intended point. Now, the last thing we have to talk about today is a short on the channel. Goes by the name The 3 Immune, and it's pretty short, obviously. It's a YouTube short, but there's some pretty interesting information on this, so let's take a look. Now, obviously, we have a disease in this series called Crimson Arm Syndrome, so it's likely referring to that, and there are 3 names listed on this. First, we have a Raymond, a Greycrow, and a Dr. Haley, who also has a subnote of inventor of the Portal. Now, I have no idea what the Portal is. It might be referring to some way to go to other worlds. It's possible, parallel worlds are a thing, but we don't really have any information on that. But there is a name on here that does matter, that being Greycrow. See, I didn't mention it earlier because it wasn't too important, but in Log 3, we get a little more context to the home field cases. See, Volt mentions that he found the red phone in Greycrow Field. Now, there doesn't seem to be a location in the world that is called Greycrow Field, but it does lend a little bit of information to us, as it's spelt Grey, Crow, as in, again, the European spelling of grey. Now, again, probably just a minor, irrelevant detail, but I thought I would point it out nonetheless. Even though there isn't too much more information revealed in this, it's perfectly okay, as it sets up another mystery for us to solve when another tape comes out, so I very much appreciate the use of shorts in this way. It also means that Iris made YouTube shorts in his world and is supporting Brainrot. So with all the new content covered, let's start concluding and making some theories on what new information we have. First, we'll start with Rogue, or Violence. The God Eater is a being that is made up of 7 fragments. Rogue is the fragment of Violence, and it has been communicating with Volt for some time now, and it has unfortunately killed him. Violence seeks to come to our realm, as it is aware of our realm, and it seeks to find its other pieces and join together, and eventually consume all worlds. We can prove that it knows of us because of the names it provides us to our realm. You know, the 5 that have weird connections, but regardless, Rogue knows of us. Rogue is going to come to us and consume us eventually. No, Volt is dead, and Iris is trying to pick up the pieces of where he was. And we know that Iris has very limited information, but is still trying. They are on our side. I feel very confident that I was wrong in the last episode I made. I'm trying to say that Iris might be bad. I believe that they are an ally, undoubtedly now, as they're working on their own, and they have sufficient reasoning to be doing this. I mean, it's their world, or, you know, it's death or nothing, so I think they are definitely on our side. Additionally, we know that there are at least 5 other characters that we have to be on the lookout for. One of them, I believe, is May, or the apprentices of Volt, and it seems that they might be trapped in their own tapes, which is very unfortunate, but they might be leaving clues for us in the future, if they haven't already. Lastly, the 3 immune. They are going to be very important in the future, all of them. Raymond seemingly has no correlation or importance yet, but Greycrow and Dr. Haley clearly do. Greycrow because of the field, Dr. Haley because she actually has more than just her name. She invented the portal, we don't know it yet, I'm sure we'll see more about it in the future. But regardless, these 3 are going to become important, as they are immune from the God Eater. I think it's also very important to note that these 3 are immune to the Crimson Arm because the God Eater doesn't have any interest in them, which could mean one of 2 things. It could mean that they are humans that even Rogue sees below every other human, even though he hates all humans already. Or the more interesting theory is that they might have some connection, relation, or way to find the other fragments of the God Eater. Of course, that would mean the God Eater is actually interested in them, but not in the way of like killing them, but the semantics of it. I still think it's a decent possibility, though I don't know if the fragments can enter humans or not, but we'll have to see in the future. I really don't have any like super out there theories anymore because, well, my one theory is probably not correct. I mean, sure, there are definitely parallels. It definitely could have been inspired, but I think it's pretty safe to say that I could be close, or, you know, I could be around some level of correctness, but I'm certain I'm not 100% correct. And I think that we need some more information, obviously, to fully build up, you know, an arsenal of lore and reasoning in this world, but I think that my assertions are still somewhat sound, that there is an evil god, well, something beyond a god, who wants to destroy everything, and that there are groups fighting against that, such as Red. I think they are probably the organization Volt works for still. I still think everything I did in that video, except for like the more specific elements, like this being yelled about specifically, I don't think that's accurate anymore, but it doesn't matter. I still think I'm generally decently correct. But that is everything I have for you today. If you enjoyed, again, go to their channel, the people leave a like here, whatever. Leave a comment telling me what your theory is, or if you have any suggestions for me to research. I would appreciate that. I'm very invested in this series still. It has brought me back again, which is rare, because I don't usually do that. My next video will probably be a Hollow Knight video instead of JJK, because I got really into it over these past couple of days while I was sick. So, probably gonna make a video on the Pantheon fights, because I'm on them. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed, stick around. You'll probably see another one of these in 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, see you.